I had a lot of surgeries. I lost my sight early on in life. Actually got it back and was able to drive and play sports and, do all the normal things that, normal kids do. Lost it again playing sports, got hit in the eye with a baseball bat. One of the red plastic ones, not the wooden ones, thank God. And then at age 30, I lost my sight again. And my background was in technology when, like I was explaining to the teacher, the professor, when it was hard. When everything was, had to be perfect or it didn't work. And you literally scratching your head going from, cable to cable to, all the different points in which your networking could go wrong. Of course, there wasn't any social media and, none of that stuff back there. Barely was the internet. But I worked for MCI, WorldCom, when it was a big telecom conglomerate. I was the center director there. And then and this was in Virginia, transferred to Georgia in '96 because they had this thing called Freaknik. I had to be there. I worked with this guy from Atlanta. He talked funny to me. He was like, hey man, you want to ride down with me, man, to the 8? This thing called Freaknik. And he told me about it. I'm like, I'll get you. And so when I moved here, it was everything that he told me it was. And I put in a transfer, and I became the center director of MCI in Morgan Falls. And then we moved to Alpharetta. MCI closed down. And I went to work for a couple of law firms in Georgia, Tronicorn and Thomas, and Geraldine Moore and Associates as a director of collections. So none of those really had anything to do with technology until I lost my sight. And I wanted to still use the computer. I had a passion for computers and just what it enabled me to be able to do, which is basically be independent. So at this point we have the internet and podcasting is just coming out, and I had a mentor, which is Leo Laporte, one of the biggest technology guys on the planet, literally. And I would listen to his show for probably 16 months, all of them, MacBreak Weekly, Windows Weekly, Google, whatever the name of that one was. And I just developed a passion for technology and what it enabled everybody who uses it to be able to do. And so when I lost my sight and I'm using JAWS, JAWS is a screen reader for individuals that are blind to be able to access the computer in the same manner that you guys would use a mouse to be able to point and click and access different elements of the computer. So in the middle of this, I get a call from a friend of mine, and he says, Apple is looking for a director of accessibility. And there is no, qualifiers, there's no experience needed. And the reason for that is it had never been done before, which is make the Macintosh accessible to people with disabilities. Now, I had all the experience of being a director and leading and, running centers and all of this stuff. So, the leadership part I had, the accessibility part, the technical part, the IT part, I didn't. So whenever I speak to classes like you all, I always say I came in through the back door, and like the young lady said, open up the doors for other people to come in and have the opportunity to work. And as she said, it worked for me. But you have to remember that people with disabilities, a lot of them, the majority of them, don't make a lot of money. They're on Social Security. So when I say people working for me, it's a great impact to take somebody from $760 a month to $7,000 a month. That's a huge jump in empowerment that I'm able to give. And so at Apple, our task was to make the Macintosh accessible to people with visual impairments. And it took us about 2 years. We did it. We launched it. It was the first time that a screen reader of its magnitude had ever been free to somebody with a disability. Now, JAWS, where I started, costs, and still does to this day, $1,300. It's a piece of software. They wrote it once, and they sell it thousands and thousands of times. And so, after working on the Mac and we make that accessible, a year later, the iPhone came out. And so, you guys remember Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I had the opportunity to work directly under Steve Jobs. And so, he sends out this email, and it says, what's one thing that we can do that has never been done before that will change the world? There's 13 of us on the team that I was leading, and we all wrote back, make the iPhone accessible. And in Steve Jobs fashion, he's a man of few words. He emails back, he says, okay. And so we get to work on the iPhone. 3GS is out, and it's the first iPhone that's accessible to millions of blind people worldwide. Now, the significant thing about it, even though we're used to touchscreens now, it had no buttons. How do you take something with zero tactile feel and make it accessible to a blind person? And so once we did that, I started looking at my future. I mean, eventually they're not going to need us, because we were basically a team of testers. Hey, let's just work for a blind person. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, here's, the code that we wrote. Can you test it? And after we made it accessible, and it had been out for, a few years, and I get to travel the world, showing blind people that, this technology is here, and it's going to change your life. I said that I want to take my assistive technology skills and my resume, and I want to open up my own business teaching people with disabilities how to use this technology. And so 10 years ago, I did that. And so now I run the largest assistive technology firm in the world. Still doing what I love. Still helping individuals with disabilities learn and master their technology. Still being able to employ 32 individuals with disabilities and have them realize an amazing income that is not set in the traditional way of going to work, clocking in, having a boss, and collecting a paycheck. Or I say having a job. I think a job stands for just over broke. And I wanted to make sure that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it at the top of our game. We're going to be the best in the business, and we're going to be able to turn down more business than what we accept, because we want to make sure that we train people who have a heart of a teacher and who wants to empower other people with disabilities and other people around the world to live their dreams. And that's why I say the part about the job is I only want people that work for me to have a love and a passion for what they do. When they wake up, I don't even want them to feel like it's working, because what they do is what they love to do, which is help people. When I'm in my finance meetings, I tell them all the time, we got a double bottom line. Yeah, we want to make a lot of money, and yeah, we do make a lot of money, but the bottom line is that we help as many people as we can get what they want, and we'll always have what we want. And so when you guys talk about IT and the certifications and multimedia, I mean, you guys know that you're highly sought after. Digital media, whoever's recording the video, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to take it, I'm going to post it. It's going to give me what's called social proof that clearly he must be somebody. He's in a room talking to 25 people. That's going to help my bottom line. And I hope in exchange that the words that I tell you, being a person that came from the oldest of 7, poor in Virginia, to where I am now, through the grace of God, and showing you guys that you can do it, I hope that's a fair exchange. When we talk about IT and we break it down, information technology, it's changed. Back when I was doing it and you worked for a company in IT, there were literally a whole help desk, 30 people in one building running around changing keyboards and switching out cords and hard drives and running code and networking. Now, we just sit at home, troubleshoot. We instant message, text message, right? You can do it from your house. Back when we had to do it, we had to be in the building, clocking in, pulling our hair out. Maybe that's why I'm bald-headed now. Security, is all done on the back end. He doesn't, up front, he doesn't know anything about the security of the app, and, it's, hey, I'm gonna send you over this link, grant me access, I'll log in, and I'll be sure to make sure that, I log out and I'm not, spying on your UPS packages that get delivered. So, it's changed. But it's changed for the better, I think, for everybody. Because me as somebody who can't see, now somebody comes up to my door, no matter where I'm at in the world, and I can press a button on my phone and talk to them through my doorbell. I can control my thermostat and my locks on my door and my Amazon Alexa, and my whole house is just automated. It is 100% accessible to me. When I go home, it's dark. It's not a lot of lights on my street, and I tell the Uber that the lights on my porch is red, and then I talk to my phone and I tell my phone to turn my porch lights red. And so behind that is where you guys are going to be working, someday. And that's the power that we have as people who are passionate about this thing called technology. The business side of it is great. It's a lot of money to be made. Whether you work for somebody that has a vision, or whether you open up your own shop, whether you decide to partner with somebody, any way you decide to do it, technology is not slowing down. When we worked for MCI, and one of the reasons why I loved it, we called it many changes instantly, because that's what it was. The technology that we were using for long distance, it was rapidly changing. It was, almost on a weekly basis that we had to change one of our processes, change the way we did things, change one of our systems. And so it's here. Google, Apple, Amazon, they all need you guys, your services, your minds, your innovative thoughts, your multimedia savviness. And I just ask that as you guys are creating, think about everybody. How would your grandmother utilize this technology? A lot of times we get caught up in the book stuff and the IPv4s and the 6s and all of the geeky stuff that we all love. Make it easy for the people that need to use or follow your footprint. I used to hate going into the server room and have to look for files that were coded in some crazy way. Make it simple. Underline a do in between words. We don't need a $, an underline, a period, and a question mark. That's probably the biggest thing, because had Steve Jobs not had a vision to change the world, the cardinal word in that is change the world, make it different. We probably would have been going the same route, using clunky Windows phones, Blackberries, which is great, but now we got Android, Amazon, and all of the rest. I guess I don't know too much more that I can give you. But what I can say to each and every one of you guys is that you're on the right track. Just have a passion for what you do, and then learn how to scale it. That's what business is all about. taking something that you love and being able to sell it over and over and over again, gradually making it better, gradually giving it more features. And as it grows, you grow, your business grows, and your company grows, and you get to help more and more people as the technology changes. So, with that, we can have questions, and I'll answer anything that you have for me, and we can dismiss. So, no questions?
So when we were working with Apple and trying to figure out accessibility for people with disabilities with the iPhone, what were the main features? Because I honestly don't know like how a blind person can be able to use an iPhone. So I personally want to ask what did you guys were able to come up with?
Well, the first thing was the fact that it was a phone. So how do we make a phone call? And so we just kind of regioned off the screen. If you kind of picture the normal keypad, top left is 1, middle is 2, 3, so on and so forth, till you get to the bottom of the phone, which, would be the *0 and pound. And then we had to develop, how do we touch it where you would intentionally know that this is what you wanted to press? Because, if you put your finger on the phone and you wanted to type a 7, but you actually press 4, how do we get around that? So that was the first thing. And remember, the first couple of iPhone iterations didn't even have cut and paste. So what we were working with was kind of like the bare bones of, everything. So text messaging had just really got super big. Of course, the email was there. And it was really, bare bones. How do we intentionally say that we want to, access this button for this particular feature? Say the compose mail button. And so we had to come up with gestures that really identified exactly what we wanted to do, when we wanted to do it, and just be able to make it universal. So the biggest thing in accessibility is everything was so fragmented, with JAWS and the other screen readers that were out, that you could do the same task literally 7 different ways. And we wanted uniformity. The same way that I touch that button as a blind person is the same way the people over in Africa will be touching that button and accessing that feature. And so once we had that universal control and that universal design, everything else just kind of fell in place. But to answer your question as to how, it's just gestures, like my Apple Watch. When I touch it, hopefully it's not dead. And so it talks to me. And I can swipe it, using gestures. I can go up and down. And now it's asking me for my passcode, and I'm on 2, I double tap. And so I just type in my passcode. And then, I got the same access that anybody else that has an Apple Watch or Android Wear watch has. I just have to access it in a different way. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Information technology is universal now. And so, there are no barriers to entry as long as, we make it as simple and as intuitive as we possibly can.
Okay. So I was asking him, like, knowing to his, condition, like, did he have any challenges going into this field? So I was just curious about, how did you work around that, and how were you able to get in the position that you're in now? Or was it just through connection?
Yeah, it wasn't a relationship like nepotism or anything like that. It was really just being in the right place at the right time, and being at the forefront of it, and just having the wherewithal to really, at that time, it really wasn't help. I was looking for a job, you know what I mean? So that one came along. But the barriers, working with Ken, a lot of the barriers was just that people didn't think you could do it. A lot of the barriers was being the first to ever do it. The I Can Connect program, it was the first time ever in the world that deaf, blind people were able to use, the same technology, the same iPads and the same Macs that anybody else used. But just being there initially kind of set me up for everything else. It was like a no-brainer. Are we not going to call Vashaun in on this national project if he was there to, jumpstart it? And like I said, just being the first is a barrier within itself because it's unproven. You got to always convince people that, hey, this is going to work, and here's why, and so that's a barrier. People discriminate all the time, that's a barrier. Then you're black, that's a barrier, just being honest, so, yeah, it was a lot.
So you did have challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. And I welcomed them, it makes you stronger. So, yeah.
I have a question. With the products that y'all have, how easy is it, or is there like a training program to say the normal late blind person that wants that? I mean, obviously, when they have some technical background, they probably work that, figure out how to work it, but there goes my uncle was blind, when I want to get that from, what type of teaching or training would he have to use, give you that say the walk out the walk.
Yeah. So that's what our company does. It's not hard, and it's not because I'm technical or I help you create it or anything like that. Because I can pick up an Android tablet or whatever and use it just the same. A lot of times, think about it. If, God forbid, or let me give you a better example. If you were to close your eyes right now and then have to use your phone with it just talking to you, it would be hard, right? Because you used to seeing and looking at it and the arrows pointing this way and, swipe this way. So it's just a different mindset where you go from using your eyes to, having to rely on your ears to be able to access something. And that is the training involved. And it deals with, a lot of times when I'm teaching people, that went blind later on in life, it becomes a therapy session and, an empowerment session and, because they're dealing with more than just, hey, I can't work this phone. They're dealing with, man, I used to drive trucks and now, I'm at home.
Maybe you have say, what's the people right there?
Tesla.
Yeah, that's coming.
I understand.
That is coming. If you think about that, when I became blind, I wonder how I was going to date, because, I was the, pull up to the curb, hop out, meet the dead type guy. I wasn't afraid, you know what I mean? Because I was going to get me in there. But now, when we go to the movies, we have all the movies, they talk to us. They describe what's going on the screen. That's technology. And so you guys don't think of IT as this linear thing. And remember that a certification gets you the first job. You know, after that, anybody looking for no certification no more, they want to know, can you do the job? When the guy come cut my grass, I ain't looking for a certification. I want to know if you're going to edge up my yard right. You know? So, get your certification, get that first job, and don't look back. You know?
How'd you manage to, like, start getting, like, clients or, like, even employees for internationally? Like, how'd you start branching out?
I did it immediately, because that was my goal. I knew that the internet was here to stay. I'd already did a lot of, you know, Skype. Back then, Skype was like the thing, you know, video and audio through your computer, and you don't have to be there with that person. And then think about it, if we're using touch screens and everybody touches it the same way, then, I mean, I don't need to be beside you to touch it. Therefore, as a business, I don't have to, you know, hire you in a local vicinity to teach somebody locally. You could be in Africa teaching somebody in Georgia. And so, like I said, when I look for people who have the heart of a teacher. You know, the money will always come. You know, as long as you do people right and treat people right, you know, there's plenty of money out there for all of us. You know, and I just look for those people worldwide, you know, that really have a strong desire to help people and love technology.
How often do you speak with minors, people under the age of 18?
We teach a lot